y'all doing? Alright, I'm gonna make this one quick. Alright, I have a couple of things to say. I haven't did a video in a minute, road trip. So, yeah, of course, I'm from Houston. And, the United States is under a state of emergency. Yeah, because of the coronavirus. And it seems like, if you are in a major city or whatever city you're in, whether it's major or not, find out which hospital is going to quarantine when the outbreak happens. Which hospital are they going to send their people to? These people who have the coronavirus. Which hospital is going to be the hub for quarantine patients with the coronavirus that are very serious. Come to find out, there are a few hospitals that they chose to quarantine patients if they have a major outbreak. I found that to be interesting. But there are a lot of hospitals. Houston has the largest medical center in the world. When you see Houston's medical center, you think it's a city by itself. So anyone who's been in Houston, who works in Houston, you know what I'm talking about. You have never in your life seen a medical center like that, because it looks like a city. Houston Medical Center area is larger and it's very large. It looks, a lot of times when people come to Houston, they're like, oh, what's that? Is that downtown Houston? No, that's the medical center. So we have areas and pockets in Houston that are like that. Even the Galleria, when they see it, they just assume that's downtown Houston. But no, that's the Galleria. Okay, back to this hospital quarantine thing. Which hospitals? You guys can pretty much guess which hospital are going to be the quarantine hub in Houston. Y'all know it's going to be the hood hospitals, right? Y'all already know that's where they're going to send most of their quarantine patients. So, and another thing that I find that, I spoke on this like maybe 3 weeks ago when the coronavirus was actually taking its flight in China and spreading, and it started jumping ship into other countries. So listen, people, because China produces a lot of our medical goods that, America should be producing instead of depending on China. This is the thing that pisses me off about America. We talk about making things in America, but we buy things when an outbreak such as the coronavirus happens. We're running out of surgical masks, N95 masks. I spoke about this 3 weeks ago because I noticed that they were not being stocked in the hospital. Now, all the PPDs are being rationed. Now, this is kind of hard to do when you have patients who are on isolation, or patient who needs to be in zero pressure room, patients who have TB, patients who are on droplet precautions. Now, this is hard to do when you're rationing out masks and gowns. So, yeah, this is interesting because this is not what you're being taught in the hospital in regards to taking care of patients and making sure you do not spread germs. So I want to know why America is full of shit sometimes. So now that we have this outbreak, we need to start producing our own masks, our own medical products, goods, such as tubing, because there was a couple of years ago, there was a shortage on tubing. See, this is what America does. It wants to buy things overseas, ship it in because it's fucking cheap. America's just a cheap ass. So, whatever, America. Stop being such a cheap ass and start making shit in America. It pisses me off. You have a lot of people here in America who don't have jobs. You're outsourcing the jobs, and then you're buying goods overseas for mad cheap. All right. Enough of me being triggered over the hoarding or the whatever. I'm kind of upset about that, how they're rationing out gowns and masks. But anyway, and how they have already chosen certain particular, they're going to be the poor hospitals, where they're going to house all these quarantine patients. All right, you heard it from me. But there's another thing, and then also, if of course, in Houston, the mayor made a good decision to shut the rodeo down. Because some person decided to go to the rodeo and to the cookout, and that person tested positive for coronavirus. And now you have this. So now they had to shut everything down. Now they shut a lot events down in Houston, because people do not know how to stay home when they're sick. And this is something that happens where a person may not have traveled outside of this country or this state, and they picked up the coronavirus from somewhere else. So this is what a lot of people don't understand. The thing with the coronavirus, the life expectancy of this droplet disease is, it lasts at least probably up to 72 hours on plastic and stainless steel. Not only that, on paper, cardboard, or whatever, maybe 24 hours. So if you get it on your clothes, it lasts maybe up to 12 hours or longer. So if you're out in your community and you're walking about and you're touching, you could possibly pick up the coronavirus. And that's how easy. That's why hand washing is good to do. Yes, hand sanitizer is okay. But before all this, before sanitizer and using alcohol, we had soap, okay, people? Antibacterial soap is good. Regular soap is good. You can use regular alcohol. You can use that to sanitize your hand after washing. That's up to you. But, just to let people know, be careful when you go out in the community, in your city or the church or to the hospital. And another thing, now, they're shutting these hospitals. If you have a family member that's in the hospital, they're screening you before you even go into the hospital. They're shutting those locations down because they have people at those exits now. And most of the hospitals and nursing homes are doing this. They're screening you. They're checking your temperature. They're asking you if you have a cold. So, don't think you can just run up into the hospital to go see your family member and your butt is sick. And people, stop taking your kids to the hospital. I hate to see when people bring their children to a hospital that's full of germs. I'm just being real. Stop doing that. Stop bringing newborn babies to the hospital. Stop it. Stop bringing 2-year-olds, toddlers to the hospital. Stop doing that shit. But anyway, they're screening people, and children definitely won't be allowed to go. You definitely won't be. Some hospital will not allow you to stay overnight with your family member because they're trying to minimize, people getting sick. It's a safety thing. Don't be surprised if you go to the hospital and they decide to scan your forehead, check your temperature before going in, or if they screen you and ask you if you have a cold or not. They're not testing you for the coronavirus. They're just actually asking you questions and checking your temperature. So I just want to give people the heads up on that. Now, another thing we need to talk about is let me see. Oh man, I can't even figure it out now. Yeah, I'm headed to Victoria today, so it's going to be a quick stop. It's actually a pretty nice day. I thought it was going to be overcast. I did have something on my mind that I wanted to talk about, but I definitely wanted to touch on, rationing, PPD, hand washing, the setting, where are they going to quarantine patients or people who test positive. And now I just realized, I guess the governor of New York, you know what? He said something, and I've been saying this too. Why the hell are we sending our testing to Atlanta? The what is it called? The CDC. Why do we have to send that? Our testing. How come we're not testing things here? Because it takes up to 4 days to find out if someone is positive for coronavirus, really? And then by that time, this person is going about, don't even know if they're positive or not. They're quarantining themselves, but at the same time, they're also infecting other people. So, that's why they're shutting things down. That's why they shut the schools down, because they don't want this to be spread through the community. Okay? So if you're sick, if you have the symptoms that's like the flu, stay your butt at home. Quarantine yourself. If you start having a dry cough, fever, and being that, a lot of people, it's going to be hard to tell because, like me, I have allergies. And the one thing about me, the pollen is very heavy out here. And that was one of my main concerns, is the pollen, me getting a sinus infection. I can easily get that. Easy. I get a sinus infection very easy. So I'm just, and sometimes, with the pollen being so heavy, you may have to wear a mask. Oh man, this is another thing that I thought that was interesting. Someone did the study on pollution. Being that, how they shutting down the cities, and people are not able to work, not being able to drive their vehicles, So they're comparing the pollution in China versus when they started shutting things down in, was it Wuhan, China, where coronavirus had started. They was comparing it, 2 different days, and they were showing that there was less pollution on the day because people were not working, they were not out and about being busy creating pollution. Basically, we humans are killing our planet. And Russia, I think, was it Russia or Italy? I don't know. One of those European countries did the same thing, I believe, for Italy. Same thing. No, it was Italy that did it. And they noticed the same thing too. They noticed that, the lack of pollution because the coronavirus. So yeah, global warming is a real thing. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but yeah, we humans tend to kill ourselves. The earth will then straight do her thing, kill us off, because we do not deserve this planet. Plain and simple. All right, peace out, people.